So everyone's tuned in, yeah? I hope so. It's time for RealmRanker time. In this video, we will be reviewing the top 13 best Goosebumps books and the top 13 worst. I will be biased in this video. So rankers, let's get ranking. We'll start with the top 13. The higher rank, the best they are. Number 1. The Ghost Next Door. This book, in my opinion, is the best Goosebumps book ever. It's somewhat scary. It has a moral to the story, yet it's bittersweet and sad. It's one of the only Goosebumps books I read with a classic twist at the end of the story. Hannah Fairchild, who thinks she's alive, but she's actually been dead the entire time. 2. Night of the Living Dummy 3. Some people say Night of the Living Dummy is best, but I like this one way more. It's interesting and funny at the same time. Besides giving the evil dummy to their cousin at the end of the story is classic twist of an end, sweet revenge. Also, Slappy is an iconic figure in Goosebumps, so I had to rank it second best. 3. One Day in Horrorland. This book is an introduction into one of the most famous settings in Goosebumps, Horrorland. A creepy haunted theme park where nightmares come to life. It's a relatively easy story to follow, yet keeps us guessing. Do Luke and Lizzie make it out alive? 4. Night of the Living Dummy. Introduction of a Goosebumps character classic, Slappy. It's a good story, with a sense of irony. Slappy was never bad to begin with. 5. Be careful what you wish for. I like this one, because it has an interesting yet important moral to the story. More than any other Goosebumps book, if she had never made bad wishes, nothing bad would have happened, even though that bully did deserve it. Plus, the ending is cruel. She makes a good wish for once, and her bully wishes for her to turn into a bird. Talk about bad luck. 6. Welcome to Dead House. Yes, I know. It's such a classic and it's ranked number 6. Well, it's my opinion. It's a good story. It was the first Goosebumps book ever written. First of the first original series. The book that made the series famous. But it has no unique ending of its own. Well written, ironic plot line with everybody in the town being dead. But it lacked that Goosebumps pull into the story. When I was reading it, I didn't feel drawn into the story. But still one of the best. 7. Beware of the Snowman. A girl moves to a village in the Arctic Circle. Discovers strange myths of the place, that it's haunted by an evil snowman. She starts thinking her aunt is evil, and the snowman claims to be her father. This story is so hilarious and entertaining. It always kept me guessing. You never really know what to expect in this story. Is her aunt evil? Are the villagers bad? Is the snowman really her father? The ending is twisted, with other snowmen that help them that say, "Can we go down now? It's too cold up here." 8. Stay out of the basement. I think this book isn't really all that great, but the story is funny. The moral is stay out of the basement. It's one of those Goosebumps books that says not all Goosebumps stories have to be scary or sad in order to be good. The fact that their father, a botanist, turns into a plant monster and hides his plant head under a cap already sounds ridiculous on its own. It was an engaging story despite being funny most of the time. 9. Phantom of the Auditorium. This one teaches us that not all Goosebumps books have to be scary. Because this one isn't scary at all. But very sad. A boy died in a school and haunts it ever since. His dying wish is to finish the role that he never had the chance to play, the Phantom in the play Phantom of the Opera. He stops others from taking his role as a ghost, though all he wants is for his voice to be heard. This is one of the most basic yet serious Goosebumps stories, yet it is so underrated. Vampire's Breath. A funny story with an important moral: don't go snooping around in other people's belongings. This book is often underrated, especially because of its front cover. People love Werewolf of Fever Swamp most. But I quite like this book. It's funny, it has suspense and an ironic ending. The vampire was good all along. He even helped them. He was also the boy's grandfather. But it lacks pacing and has a very bland side when it comes to a scary plot line. 11. Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. Well, I love choose-your-own-path stories. they're fun. But this one is unique. The Carnival of Horrors reminds me of Horrorland. And if you love Horrorland, then this book is for you. You literally get to make your own choices in this book. It feels as though you yourself get the chance to explore something similar to Horrorland. That's why I think it's cool and deserves a spot on this list. 12. Say Cheese and Die. It isn't scary, and it lacks pacing, but it's funny. The idea behind it that there's a camera, and if you take a picture of yourself, you die. The story is pretty basic, lacks suspense. These kids mess around with a haunted camera, and then bad things happened. But the moral is good. Don't touch things you can't comprehend. 13. Why I Quit Zombie School. Now I added this one for the sake of laughs. This one is from the Hall of Horrors series, so not from the original series. But I like it because it's about a boy who goes to this new boarding school. Thing is, all the students there are zombies. He's so stupid he doesn't even realize it. Towards the end, he only makes it out because one of the zombie girls help him. Then he decides he never wants to go to school again. Yep, I don't blame him. Now we move on to the top 13 worst books. The higher ranked, the worse they are. 1. How I Got My Shrunken Head. The premise is bizarre even by Goosebumps standards, and the jungle setting feels disconnected from the usual suburban horror vibe. Why it ranks worst, the twist is weak, the pacing drags, and the shrunken head concept never delivers real scares or suspense. I mean, come on, the kid gets a shrunken head, then he goes to save his aunt in a jungle. What the heck? No moral. Not funny. Not scary. Nothing. 2. Deep Trouble. People that say this is a classic. That makes me kind of angry. It's about two kids with their uncle, and they discover a mermaid. Wow. There's nothing good about the story. Even the Horrorland sequel sucks. Even though it is better than this one. Despite an ocean setting ripe for terror, the story leans heavily on a dull marine biology subplot. Why it ranks so low, the mermaid twist feels forced, and the characters lack depth. 3. Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Criticism: the scarecrows aren't even creepy, the story is repetitive, and the ending fizzles. Why it's disappointing, the build-up promises more than it delivers, and the twist lacks impact. The story drags you on and on. You wait for the final crescendo and then nothing. This book is major disappointment. The plot reels you in but struggles to keep hold. A bunch of evil scarecrows come to life and terrorize a family. Boo-hoo. Wasted potential. 4. Zombie Halloween Goosebumps Most Wanted. If you open the ending of this book and read towards the start, that would make it at least a little interesting. The end no longer seems exciting if you remember the beginning. They address the story of the grandfather, but it has no literal use for the present story regarding the Manzetti family. They have a Halloween party and find zombies in their basement. 5. The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. Criticism: the snowman is barely scary, and the plot jumps between locations without cohesion. Why it's weak, the horror elements are diluted by a goofy tone and implausible science fiction twists. This plot leaves you wanting the snowman in Pasadena to melt away before you finish the story. It's so boring, but at least it delivers the story we think it will be. Just boring. 6. Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. Criticism: the gnomes are more annoying than frightening, and the humor doesn't land. Why it's forgettable, it tries to be quirky but ends up feeling like filler in the series. While they buy lawn decoration, and then out of revenge, they decide to fight back. Lawn decoration gnomes which are too busy talking and destroying plants rather than actually getting their revenge. 7. The Blob That Ate Everyone. Criticism: a meta-story about writing horror that never quite clicks. Why it underwhelms, the blob is underused, and the narrative feels like a gimmick rather than a genuine. Basically, this boy has the ability to write stories, and they come to life. Then he creates this monster blob that eats everyone. Could have been an interesting story, but why a blob? What's next? Chewing gum? 8. The 5 Masks of Dr. Scream. It's not too bad, but it's confusing and lacks a strong central plot. Why it's frustrating? Too many paths lead to unsatisfying endings, and the masks aren't memorable. Basically, a weird dude gets you to find 5 haunted masks before it's too late. It has a moral to the story: don't let weird people into your house. 9. Monster Blood. I'm sick and tired of Goosebumps books and liquid ooze. Anybody feel the same? No. Okay, Monster Blood. A so-called classic about a boy who opens a tin can of magic goo and it keeps growing and growing. His aunt is a witch. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Very boring. Straightforward and zero suspense. Everything in the story feels too convenient. The concept of a growing green goo is not cool. The execution of it is repetitive. 10. The Haunted Mask. While iconic, some readers find the mask's powers and the resolution too convenient. Why it's here? It's not terrible, but its reputation exceeds its actual scare factor. The sequel arguably improves on the original. A girl puts a magic mask on but struggles to get it off. Very exciting. Must be. It was one of the best sellers. 11. A Shocker on Shocker Street. Criticism: the twist ending undermines the entire story. Why it disappoints? It builds tension only to pull the rug out with a cop-out. Basically, 2 kids experience the worst day of their lives at a film studio. Turns out it was all a simulation to create a movie, and the 2 kids are robots. What a waste of potential. 12. Let's Get Invisible. The invisibility gimmick is intriguing but quickly becomes repetitive. Why it's dull? The stakes never feel high, and the mirror subplot is confusing rather than creepy. A boy finds a weird mirror and becomes invisible. Then he starts thinking he and his friends can have fun with it. That's when bad things start to happen. 13. Ghost Beach. A classic haunted setting that doesn't innovate. Why it's lower tier? Predictable ghost tropes and a twist that lacks punch make it one of the more forgettable entries. Other than that, it's okay, I guess. 2 kids go to the coast to visit their distant cousins when they learn there's more to that place than just mysterious relatives. And again we come to an end. That was my video for today. So if you guys have any top Goosebump picks, let me know in the comments. Hit like or subscribe, or Slappy will haunt you tonight. I mean it. Just joking. Well, stay tuned for more videos.